Hello and welcome to the Lanterna Knowledge Network, where we celebrate all things wine, spirits, and gourmet, all while educating ourselves at the same time. Lanterna has decided to launch a multifaceted approach to gain knowledge and skills for our industry, our colleagues, and ourselves. Today, I will be your host. My name is Jaren Keller. Let's delve into the wonderful world of a wine that you know oh so well, that embarks patio season, pool time, bouillabaisse, clam bakes. If you guessed rosé, that's where we're going. In terms of rosé as we know it, let's jump back to the beginning of winemaking history. Wines back then were often field blends. The red and the white grapes were blended together, macerated together, usually just overnight, so a very quick process. They were typically picked a little bit later, so you ended up with sugary wines that weren't fermented all the way. In essence, you'd have a sweeter style of rosé with a fair amount of tannin because you were pressed with the seeds, the skins, the stems. Everything was whole cluster back then. Nobody cared. The base wines, if we were to segregate the red versus the white, they were often too tannic, weren't balanced, didn't quite have that method figured out yet. The whites might be too acidic, the reds might be too tannic. Blended together, it created the wine that everybody sought after. It was actually considered the wine for nobility and people that had class of any sort. The base wines that weren't blended were often considered for the barbarians, the murderers, the bad people, the poor people, whatever it might be, that couldn't quite get into those rosés. The Greeks later decided to take, obviously, wine throughout the world, at least Europe and all such, but when they came across Marseille in the Provence area of France, they introduced that rosé method, which obviously we know has taken off for quite a long time. But then when you jumped all the way to World War II, there was two Portuguese brands that came out that really kind of changed the game for rosé in terms of mass marketing. They created a style that was probably more reminiscent of what the original rosés were without the tannin, so a little bit more full body, a little bit sweeter. They took off mainly in the UK and the US, and they reigned supreme for about 40 years, up until about 1970. So here's when the new category comes into play, the one that took over rosé as we know it. Bob Trinchero from Sutter Home can claim fame to this, where he introduced White Zinfandel again to California. White Zinfandel was originally a category that was first made in 1879, 1897, something like that. Sorry for the missed numbers. But it never really caught on. When Bob took control of it, he created, in essence by accident, a Saignée method. I mean, he knew what the method was, but this was his new style of rosé, and it caught on like wildfire. They now produce over 20 million cases a year. So clearly people are drinking rosé. When you jump to the 1990s, you'll find that there was a category that wasn't quite filled yet. When you look at high-end restaurants, sommelier-driven restaurants, wine lists of that nature, there was never a rosé on a wine list. It was very hard to find. Now it's almost mandatory to have a rosé segment because it goes with the food, it goes with the weather, it goes with palates. Everything makes sense. And around 2000 and 2009, in between that decade there, celebrities caught on to it. There were several that we all know, like Brangelina and Drew Barrymore and Les Claypool, that have wineries that were just driven and focused on making rosé. They've since grown, but that was their main focus. So that's when it kind of took off. And the winemaking styles now, that's where they're able to play. If you're not making a mark for your style in the rosé world now, you get passed. People don't notice it. So you have to be different in any way that you can. So you'll see almost any grape varietal used to create a rosé, as well as different maceration times to get darker or lighter colors, different hang times to get sweeter or lighter fruit. People mimicking other styles from other parts of the world. So somebody might want to make that Provençal style, say in Virginia. So it's become fun to try and keep track of what everybody might do next. In terms of the four main production methods of rosé, there's really three, but we're going to list four. So one is the maceration method, which you'll see on my grid here. The maceration method, in essence, is just soaking with the skins to gain that color, that pigmentation from the skins. The longer they soak, the darker they are. Typically, it would only be like a day, maybe two tops. That would be pretty extreme. You dark rosé. But that is the maceration method. The blending method, which is exactly that, you'd be blending wines to create that color that you want. Not sought after, not really smiled upon, but it is a method nonetheless. And then, of course, there's the Sanier method, which you take the red wine base that you have and you bleed off from the tank to kind of concentrate the juice that's left behind. So the red wine would be darker because you eliminated some of the excess wine in the tank, and then you are left with, in essence, a byproduct that most winemakers are now using. 200 years ago in Bordeaux, that was basically just cast aside, was given away and things like that. Nowadays, it's your rosé that you like. The last method, the vin gris, much less production than the others. Vin gris is in essence no maceration time. It's just a quick amount of the skins that's coming off and a little bit of color. With all these discussions on rosé, I think it's time that we invite some of our other colleagues to come and mention what they do in the world of rosé and their tactics and techniques of transforming wonderful wine into those pink colors. So first, I'd love to introduce Pedro Ribiero, who's coming to us all the way from Portugal, the Alentejo region in the southeast corner of the country. It's a barren area with lots of land to be used. You don't run into a lot of people there. It's actually quite nice because of that. But the Rocim winery, Herdado Rocim, is located there, which has about 100 hectares planted, 60 of it under vine, quite a large olive oil production, and a staple in the Portuguese wine market now as we know it. Pedro Ribiero is the general manager and part owner of the estate, and he would love to tell us a little bit about what he is doing there.
Hi, my name is Pedro Ribiero. I'm the winemaker for Racine Wines. Racine Estate is an estate in the Alentejo, south of Portugal, in a small sub-region of the Alentejo called Vidigueira. And Vidigueira is known by the freshness, minerality of white wines, but also the reds. Today I'm going to show you our Rosé Mariana. And our Rosé Mariana, it's a blend of two varietals. Main one is Touriga Nacional, and we also have Aragonês. Touriga Nacional is our most famous Portuguese grape that gives all the floral notes that you can find in this wine. We have also Aragonês. Aragonês is also known as Tempranillo in Spain, but in Portugal we call it Aragonês in the south of Portugal and Tinta Roriz in the north, just to complicate things. So on this wine we use only the free run juice, and we ferment in concrete tanks with native yeasts. It's very light in color because we only, like I said, we only use the free run juice, and the idea is to make a very fresh, mineral, dry rosé, perfect for the summer. Cheers.
Next, let's meet Franck Agostini. He is an importer that has Franck's signature wines. He all over the French area. His wines are unique and obscure and always delicious. With him today, he's going to be discussing what Jérôme Choblet makes all the way further north. So we're going from Portugal up to the Loire Valley in France, and there you will discuss some of the rosés that are coming out of the Loire Valley.
Hey everybody, hope you're doing fine. I'm back again today. Sun or not sun, always the same. At least it's nearly June, it's warm, and we need to have a good medicine to enjoy from now, which is a rosé wine. I'm showing you today a rosé from Domaine des Herbauges, cuvée Éléonore, the 2019 vintage. So you know Jérôme Choblet, the estate is located in the Loire, the western part of the Loire, close to the ocean. Where's Muscadet? I'm mentioning that because, again, the terroir is specific, schistous and pebbles. And this year, that's what I love with Jérôme. He changed a bit the blending. What we want is a fresh, vibrant, zesty, clean rosé. So he put 55% of the Gros Lot Noir, which is a local grape in the Loire 100 years ago. And the Gros Lot is known to bring low alcohol, nice acidity. So that's the idea, 55% of the Gros Lot. Then after, you have 35% of the Gamay, 30% of the Gamay. Gamay, you know the grape from the Beaujolais. In the Loire, it's used in the Loire as well, mostly for the rosé. It's known because it's bringing, mostly cherries and raspberries. And this year, since 2019 was a very, very warm summer, he had some Merlot, 15% Merlot. You know Merlot? Merlot is bringing, freshness, red fruits, and mostly strawberries. At the top of that, of course, being close to the ocean, what we want, especially in the rosé, freshness, crisp. So, 2019, he was among the first one to bottle it on purpose to keep the freshness. Lanterna was among the very first one, probably in the US, to have a 2019 rosé. That's the one I have now, of course. So it's a Vin de Pays de Loire. And really, you have in this one what you're expecting. Something bright, cool, fresh, zestiness. You have acidity, a tangy aftertaste. That's what we love for rosé. And then after, keeping refreshing, you have a lot of the grenadine. And you have these three key fruits that we like in a rosé. Strawberry, raspberry, cherry. That's really what the Merlot and the Gamay are bringing. So 2019, Domaine des Herbauges, Eleonore. The blend I told you, all the keywords on the back label, superb color, freshness, and really it was bottled early on purpose to kill all this freshness, all this nose, and you still have everything right now. It's really a seasonal wine, vibrant, fresh, tons of red fruits, all of them the pure expression of the grape they come from. Jérôme Chaublé, you know him, he's a great guy. He's really amazing in when he can for the Vin de Pays, blend and really adapt the blend to the weather and the vintage. Especially for rosé, we all want something the same. The fruitiness, vibrant, crispness, something easy for every day. Get it from now, every day. Take care. Have a nice weekend.
That's it for today's segment. We are going to be a multi-approach segment here. I believe we're going to do a few classes on rosé, so we'll see what we learn along the way. That being said, please make sure if you like the page to follow us, LKN Network. You can also like us on all your social media pages, and please ask any questions on those pages if you wish to learn anything else. I appreciate your time, and here's to rosé all day.